you know, it's got the Axopar performance, but it's delivered by electrons. Whew, it really moves. Welcome to the first ever electric Axopar. Yes, this Axopar 25 is pure electric. They've removed the petrol outboard and replaced it with a 225 kilowatt or 300 horsepower electric motor and a 126 kilowatt hour battery bank. The engine is made by a Norwegian company called Evoy, and we've got the opportunity here in Cannes to sea trial this. So let's see what Axopar's electric future might look like. So under here is where the brains all lies. Now in terms of the layout, it's exactly the same as a standard 25. You have the same seating options, though it's best to have this multi-storage one because it's got built in this perfect area to put all of the equipment necessary to run and charge the boat. Up front you have the sun pad, you have the cabin as well. Everything is exactly the same. It's just the fact that you've got the electric outboard back there and you've got the brains under here. Really easily accessible, and so accessible in fact that you can switch the batteries in and out. Now this is a prototype, I need to point that out. It is very, very early days, and it's so early in fact we can't even lift the hood off the engine to show you underneath the cowling, but we can still get out to sea and see what it feels like out on the water. Well, here we are at a very sedate and very quiet 6 knots. This is obviously the most efficient speed to travel at. I've got live range here and I've got live range time. We've got 5 hours running time at this speed and we can do 26 miles. Obviously it's not particularly realistic, but it is an incredibly relaxing and quiet way to travel. But of course this is a 300 horsepower motor, so there is a fair bit more performance on tap. And the weird thing is, you feed it in, there's very little commotion. There's maybe a bit more of a sort of dull hum than you might expect. It's not completely silent, but you are also more aware of the water rushing by. But compared to the petrol outboards, it's much more civilized. And now we're up to a nice canter of 21 knots, and that's giving us a running time of 35 minutes, which admittedly does not sound like very much. And offshore, that's really not going to get you very far at all. But the target market for this is inland. It's the lakes of Northern Europe where there's lots of legislation being made that you need to have an electric boat. And for that, when you're dotting around a lake, well, that is perfectly enough range. And because of those charging times, actually if you're going somewhere where you can quickly plug in even to a shore power socket, you can quickly top up your batteries and you can take off again. And the nice thing about this is, because it's a familiar hull and a familiar boat, it feels exactly the same as a standard Axopar 22 or 25. The dash is exactly the same, apart from the electronics are slightly different because they have all the data coming in about the electric motor and the batteries, but it's the same steering wheel, it's the same steering position. It feels just like the petrol boat, so it's a very normal experience in that way. It's a very easy transition, and that also means you get the Axopar twin-stepped, very soft ride. And you know, we're at the Cannes Boat Show where there's always a bit of chop about because of all the traffic, and for a small boat this really does handle it very nicely. That twin-step, very narrow hull cuts through it beautifully, and yeah, this is a very easy 22 knot cruise where, you know, we've got half an hour left to do it, and it might be a bit challenging to keep the camera straight, but just to give you an idea of what performance this thing's got, we had a twin 200 horsepower Axopar 28 out as our chase boat earlier on, and it could not keep up. They have had 52 knots out of it. We've had 47 today. But yeah, when you open up the taps, lift the trim up a bit, whew, it really moves. Yeah, so I mean, you know, it's got the Axopar performance, but it's delivered by electrons, not carbon. It really is very convincing. Okay, the range isn't great, it's a prototype, there's still plenty of work to be done on this, but for me, anything that is electrifying the boats that we can buy is a good thing. Actually, coming into Cannes here, it makes you realise what a good tender this could be actually. You know, tenders aren't doing huge amounts of miles, so having all electric range for the, you know, the sort of 25 odd you've got at cruising speed here would make perfect sense. The other nice thing is how neatly all of the data is displayed. It's eVoice data, but it comes through on the screens. It's all Axopar branded, and here you can see you've got your speed, you've got the power consumption, you've got how much battery life you've got left, and you've also got a range in distance and a range in time, but it's all live and reactive, so whatever speed you're doing, you know exactly how much time you've got left on the water. It's just really nicely packaged and works really well. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed it. If you'd like to watch more videos from us, then you can click these boxes here, and if you'd like to subscribe, then please click up here. Thanks for watching.